A very good evening to all our viewers. I'm Shivani Srivastav, Relationship Manager at Global Education and Training Institute. I welcome you all this evening to this live session with Ma'am Hema Patel, who is the principal of Swami Harihar Anand Public School in Haridwar. Ma'am has started her career at a very young age as a principal. Today, she has a 35 years of experience in the field of education. We have Ma'am today with us, and I'm happy to tell you all that Ma'am will be speaking on education with Sanskar. So, over to you, Ma'am.
Yes, very good evening to everyone. I thank Mrs. Sunita Gandhi from bottom of my heart for giving me this opportunity to express my views through this platform of GETI Forum. It's a wonderful initiative of threading the educators, parents, stakeholders, and students in one beautiful garland of empowering and sharing knowledge and enlightening the power within the mankind. Next slide, ma'am. Ma'am, next slide, please. My title is Education with Sanskar, Shiksha Evam Sanskar. I would like to dedicate my today's session to the four strongest pillars who have played and are still playing a vital role in shaping my life. They are my Dada Guru, Swami Hariharanandji Maharaj, my Reverend Guru, Ma Geeta Bharti ji, my parents and my teacher, Ms. Bharti Trivedi and Chandra Bhatia, and of course, how can I forget the Almighty who gelled such wonderful gems in my life. Next, ma'am. The root of the idea. Let us talk about jungle where there are twigs with thorns, grass, garbage, all scattered around is of no use. There are scorpions, snakes, many small insects and reptiles hidden beneath, and has no one can use that place for any purposeful activities. But if we remove those thorns from the twigs, arrange the level of surface of land, water it, and apply and make it a plain with cow dung, now this place can be now used for various purposes. You can use it for meditation, sitting, playing, eating, any kind of activities that you wish to do. It will be now utilized by many people for all different activities. So this is the way of organizing the things. When we remove agyan, that is ignorance, and instill gyan, that is wisdom in the child, and make his or her life purposeful, who shall be useful to others, that is called sanskar. Usefulness again splits into two. One brings happiness and the other brings sorrows. There is a beautiful shlok in our scriptures. Namanti falino vriksha, namanti gunino jana, shushka kathascha murkhascha, namanti kadachanam. The meaning in Hindi, English is, the one who has sanskars in him is always polite, humble, who would never let their ego come in between his or her behavior. A person with virtues, sanskars, always makes feel relaxed while talking to others and brings happiness. A person without sanskars will reflect through his speech, thoughts, walk, and body language. You must have seen that there are people whose body language tells you everything about them, what kind of feeling the person is having. Next slide, ma'am. Back, ma'am, back. Meaning and need of sanskar. Meaning and need of sanskar, ma'am. Still, ma'am, back. Yes, meaning and need of sanskar. What is the meaning of sanskar and why do we need it? Is it really required? There are various questions bubbling in our mind. To understand its importance, what can be more appropriate than our scriptures? This is a small excerpt from our holy scripture, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Next slide. The roots of yes, next slide. This is a story from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and there are several characters. I'll be letting you know who all are they. A story that stirs the mind about two great people. One is King Javali, a son of Pravanan Panchal, and other is Shvetketu, the son of Rishi Udalak. Both the fathers, Pravahan Panchal and Rishi Udalak. One was a king and the other was Rishi. Both had done severe penance for the birth of their children. Both became scholars when they grew up, but their upbringing was totally different. The Rishi taught all the rituals but did not focus on the sanskars, thinking that it will be automatically get instilled in him since he is the child of a Rishi. But the king, since he had to make his son a king, he thought the child shouldn't lose his path in just gaining the pleasure. So he started instilling values on his child and at a very, very early age. Since the latter became a virtuous king, imbibed with full of values and sanskars, used to respect his courtiers, people in his kingdom, and pay obeisance to the guests with his gestures. People started comparing both the sons. When Shvetketu heard about this, when he came to know people when they were talking to each other, he came to know about this particular person, the king, and he thought to test the king's knowledge. He reached on the foot to the king, on his foot to Javli. When Javli came to know about Shvetketu's arrival, he asked his people to bring him to the darbar with full respect. It was in his sanskars that he always welcomed the guests, especially the rishis, mahatmas, and brahmins, by washing their feet and offering flowers to them. This is what happens, and we have been listening to this in our scriptures and other stories too. Now, Shvetketu, who was very, very arrogant and proud, felt that Javli had got scared and his knowledge and he, Javli, stood hands joined and waited for Shvetketu to ask him to take his seat. Now, Shvetketu sat, since he didn't have sanskars, he sat down, but he did not ask the king to sit on his seat. The king kept waiting for him to say that he may sit down, but it did not happen. Your pride and arrogance always reflects on your face and your body. Same was with Shvetketu. Jevli could read this since he was very Gyani and knowledgeable. He could read this on his face. So Jevli could read this thoughts, and Jevli thought of asking few questions since Shwetketu was pretending to be a learned. He asked him the first question. Now आप बात आप बता सकते हो मृत्यु लोक में प्रजा देवलोक कैसे जाती है? फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. ऊपर गई हुई प्रजा नीचे कैसे आती है? सेकंड क्वेश्चन. दैट इज नाउ द थर्ड क्वेश्चन. मृत्यु लोक से प्रजा देवलोक कैसे जाती है? द फोर्थ क्वेश्चन वाज देवयान और प्रतियान का कहां से विच्छेद हुआ है? एंड द फिफ्थ वन वाज पांचवी आहुति में जीव कैसे पुरुष बन जाता है? He was not able to answer any of these questions because he did not know the answers of those. He was very much worried what to answer. And he said, I don't know what the answer is. So, in that case, then Jevli says, then how could you say that you are a learned person? Shwetketu, because he was not having that sanskar, he could not take up that. And the moment when the Raja said, he immediately jumped from his seat in anger and went out of the darbar, stamping his feet and blaming his father for imparting incomplete knowledge. He did not take anything on his own. He just started blaming his father for it. He didn't want to hold himself to be responsible for this knowledge. When he reached home, his father understood his gestures, tried to know the reason behind being upset. He revealed him the whole story. The father started asking what happened, why are you so upset? So then he started revealing the whole story behind what had happened in the darbar. Rishi Udalak said, even he wasn't aware with those answers. And hence, what he thought, let's both of us go and ask the king, what is the reason behind this? Now, since that keenness was there in Rishi, he wanted to go to Jevli and ask the questions to him. But the son was not ready for that. What did he say? He said that the king is Kshatriya, whereas we are Brahmins. And how could we Brahmins could go to a Kshatriya to learn something about knowledge? The father was very learned, very sanskari. He said that if someone is there are some people who are very, very powerful in their wealth, some in land, some in knowledge, and knowledge comes with the one who is powerful in knowledge, and it is considered to be one of the most powerful. The one who has got knowledge, that is ज्ञान, जिसके अंदर ज्ञान होता है, वो सबसे ज्यादा ताकतवर होता है. ज्ञान एक ऐसी चीज है जो कहीं पर भी जाएंगे वो कहीं चुराई नहीं जाती है, कहीं से वो खत्म नहीं हो सकती है, कोई उसको ले नहीं सकता है, चुरा नहीं सकता है. You can distribute the people whom you want, but nobody can steal that thing from you. So that is something which is very, very important in life. There are various people around in the world who are very, very intelligent, but are not able to survive because of just one thing, that is ज्ञान. छोटी छोटी गलतियां जीवन में ऐसी कर जाते हैं, और वो एक क्षण होता है सिर्फ जीवन में, जो जब ज्ञान नहीं रहता है, और वो ज्ञान अज्ञानता की वजह से आज किसी का खून हो जाता है, किसी के इतना आवेश हो जाता है कि वो उस आवेश में वो कुछ भी कर जाता है. They do anything that comes in their mind because they don't give that second thought. So we always tell the children that if you want to ask something from the God, it's only one thing which you should ask. Get everything from that, and that is Gyan. Instead of asking to become a very rich person, affluent person, you get car, you get this, you get that. Instead of that, just ask for one single thing, and that is Gyan. And with that Gyan, you can earn anything in the life, and you'll get respect in. Now, so finally, they decided to leave and left for meeting King Javli. Again, the king followed the same rituals and brought the rishi and his son to the darbar. When the king stood and offered seat to the rishi, his son asked them, "And how can I help you?" Means the king asked, "How can I help you?" What was the purpose of coming to the darbar or to the palace? Rishi Udalak was a very learned person. He said, "Your Honesty, please sit down first, then we'll start the conversation." And he asked him to take his seat, and they started the conversation. And he said that what was the purpose behind coming over there. The purpose was what? He said that my son had come few days back, and you had asked him certain questions which he could not reply. I wanted to know the answers of that, and that is why I have come along with my son to understand the meaning of those questions. So then finally Javali says that you stay tonight over here, and we'll have a discussion on this next morning. So what is the reason? The reason behind this story was sanskar. It plays a very, very vital role in our life. The very small and a very beautiful quote I had come across somewhere, which I would like to share with people. It is in Hindi, but I'll summarize that in English. चमड़ी सुंदर होने की वजह से केवल 10 या 20 साल ही पसंद किए जाओगे, पर चरित्र सुंदर होने पर आखिरी श्वास तक आपको पसंद किया जाएगा. कभी सुना है हजारों साल पहले यहाँ एक धनवान या रूपवान रहता था, पर यह अवश्य सुना होगा कि हजारों साल पहले यहाँ एक महान गुणवान रहता था. इंसान को इतिहास में जगह उसके रूप और धन की वजह से नहीं, अपितु उसके गुण और चरित्र की वजह से मिलती है. संस्कार आता है ज्ञान से, ज्ञान आता है विनम्रता से, और उससे हमें भी आनंद आता है और दूसरों को भी महा आनंद आता है. संस्कार का मतलब ही वो है जो दूसरों को सुखी करे, स्वस्थ करे, प्रसन्न करे, जो कुविचार और अज्ञानता जैसी चीजों को मिटा दे. So this is a beautiful thing, that if you have sanskars, you can earn anything in life. You can earn whatever you expect to have, but you need to have sanskar. A rich man will be remembered for few days, but once he leaves this world, nobody knows him by his wealth. It is only by his righteousness, by his sanskars, by the virtues that he has, people remember him by that. The next slide, ma'am. Now, the question is, where are we looking at an individual Down the lane after few years, are we looking a very smart, very intelligent person who can solve any problems of the world? If he has to face some crisis, he gets depressed. This is what is happening in the world these days. Compare the present generation with the previous generation. What was previous generation or the generation that in which we are there? In the terms of tolerance, sense of responsibility, and gratitude towards their elders and teachers. Have you ever found what is the difference? Something has started missing somewhere in the life. Next, ma'am. Everyone knows probably this a very inspiring person whom we must have. Next, ma'am. Ma'am, next. Yes. Vijaypat Singhania. No, ma'am, not this. Then I just, yes. Almost everyone knows his story, how, what kind of a powerful person he was as far as wealth was concerned. One day he's sitting in his office and suddenly a person, a lawyer, comes with a piece of paper saying that, sir, you are no more the owner of this empire. Think, put yourself in place of him. Think yourself sitting in the chair. And if someone comes with this kind of paper and says one day, for which you must have worked, day in and out to come to that level. And suddenly, if someone comes and says that you are no more a powerful person or an owner of this particular place, and that too, who was the person who removed him from that seat was his own son. How he must have felt when he must have experienced that situation during that period of time. Next. Is it something which has been happening just only with him? No, it is not so. Or was he prepared for this kind of situation? Do you think that he must have not given sanskars to his child? He must have given the best what he could give. Maybe anything could be the reason. And these kind of news comes day in and out every day. We read in newspapers, we read on television, and it's always happening that people are taking their parents, putting them in old age home. Just recently, day before yesterday, I heard somewhere in the news that there are no more places left in the old age home. So a person is asked to take that person, that parent, to some other old age home. Imagine an old age home is houseful and you'll have to look for some other place. Are we looking for that kind of nation? Are we looking for that kind of place in the hearts of people? Are the parents really working for that day to see that they will be out of the house? This is happening almost every day, and the number of cases are increasing day by day in the families. We used to listen this once in a while. Some parent has been chucked off from the house, but now this is happening almost in every few houses. Next. Whom should we hold responsible for instilling these sanskars? Should we say that children don't listen? Should we say that parents don't instill these sanskars? We as educators, are we responsible or the society? Whom should we blame or whom should we think is responsible for this situation? Again, we all know that where does this journey of sanskar begins from? Ma'am, next slide. This comes from the mother's womb, जिसको हम माँ बोलते हैं. A place where the child does not know what is life and he starts taking the things in him or her, what kind of thoughts that a mother has, the kind of food that the mother takes, the kind of action that she performs, the things that she listens, everything is been absorbed totally by the child in the womb. The child, when comes out in the world, he is almost knowing many things which probably we don't think that he must be knowing it, but he has heard everything in the womb itself. We all know the story of Abhimanyu. Next slide, ma'am. A character of Mahabharat. When Subhadra was having Abhimanyu in her womb, and when Shri Krishna was discussing about the entire, what was it? It was about, I don't recall the name of that particular Chakravyu. Yes, it was a Chakravyu in which how he gets supposed to get in, but the moment it was been discussed, Subhadra, the mother, goes to sleep and she could not listen further how to come out of that Chakravyu. And that is why it had happened when Mahabharat took place. Abhimanyu could enter the Chakravyu but did not know the exit of that. So this was one incident. Ma'am, the next slide, please. The second example is of Bhakt Prahlad. Prahlad's father was a demon. He was a Rakshas. And Prahlad was a child who used to pray to God and used to believe in Vishnu. How did that happen? Prahlad, when he was in the womb of his mother, the mother's name was Kayadu. So when he was in the womb of Kayadu, Rishi Narad had taken her to his ashram. And Kayadu was given all the sanskars that was required for her child, the kind of atmosphere, the surroundings, the food, the rituals, and the stories that Naradji used to tell her, all that the child was listening inside the mother's womb. So, in spite of being a child of a demon, he was still with a very good sanskar and he was a very pious soul. So there are various such examples which we have seen in the scriptures, and today in the world also we see that It's not necessary that if a father is not good, the child would also be the same. If mother has nurtured her, probably the child would be something very different than what you expect him to be the way his family is. Next slide, please. Excellent example, even the nature gives us. This is, many of you must have seen this Chinese tree. This is a bamboo tree. This bamboo tree has a very special thing in it. When you plant this tree in your garden, say for 5 years, in spite of taking the entire care of this plant, probably you will not find a single sapling coming out of the tree. We must be thinking that, oh, I worked so hard on this tree, but still there is nothing been seen on that. Gradually, as the time comes up, within that 5 years, the tree keeps making its roots strong. And then it increases first in few days, say few inches, and gradually it is from few inches to 90 feet high. And within 6 months, you would find that it's a tall tree standing. So we could say that a 5 years of the beginning is for nurturing. That is what Maria Montessori also says, that a child, when is from 0 to 5, is the time when you can nurture, you can mold the way you want the child to be. That is from 0 means from womb till the child is of 5 years of age. Whatever you want to give that child, you may give it and you'll get it back. So if you work for those 5 years, you will not have to work for those 90 years. Those 5 years is equivalent to 90 years. Why shouldn't we focus on those initial stage? Can you please change the slide, please? See, this is a grown up tall tree standing with 90 feet high. And there's a very small, a potter's picture you could see, nurturing and preparing the pot, hitting inside, baking it, making it so solid that it can cook in this food, in this vessel. So this is how actually our life works. We should work on the children when they are very, very small. There are many renowned educators must be there. Probably I'm not the one to tell you this, but this is what happens in the life, what I have experienced with my children. Next slide, please. From where do kids get this strength and inspiration? How do we come to know that how are we supposed to hold ourselves in the most difficult time? When we were small, our grandparents used to tell us a lot of stories. The stories that we heard, probably many of you must have heard these stories, the stories from the scriptures. There are few who must have never heard these stories. But are we sure that these present generation must be knowing about these scriptures? Only if the school teaches them in curriculum, probably, or if few parents take an initiative, or if they have grandparents whom they can interact with probably must be knowing few of those stories. This stories really helps you to get inspired, and it helps you to strengthen and build your willpower and inner strength. Next slide, please. See, Mr. Singhania, once again we had started that. Mr. Singhania, let us take his example. He, if in today's time, if somebody else would have been in his place, probably a person might have suicide, or he would have killed the person who had, put out of his chair. But he was still very strong, and he is still very strong. And the best part of it was being a father or parent, both the husband and the wife, both never thought, the husband and the wife never thought that they would actually file a case against the son. They could have done that, but he felt that finally it was a son. Why to do something against a child? And he's still living his life. He's working hard, hoping for the best of his life now. So, this a very important thing in life is the willpower and the inner strength. And this willpower and inner strength is only possible when we are having faith in our own selves and the faith in that Almighty, that one day or the other there will be always a better time. There are clouds which comes and there'll be a sun behind it. This keeps happening in the life. All days are not similar, and we should understand that. So it's very, very important of self-evaluation. Do we need to, ma'am, please, next slide. Self-evaluation is very, very necessary. I keep telling my children that spend at least few minutes every day before going to bed. That is what I had learned from my teacher, that we were asked to keep a diary where we were supposed to write what did I do today in the entire day. And that introspection, when you do, what did I do, why did I do, how did I do, when did I do, you would get the answers. And I tell my children that when you introspect, and if you find that you have done something wrong, pray to God that I should begin with a better day tomorrow, and apologize the person for whom you have felt done something wrong, and try to be strong and do not do the same mistake once again. Apologize and do not repeat that mistake the next morning. The strength that you get, and by the time when you go to the bed, if you are able to sleep peacefully, is something the self-evaluation is done. One needs to do self-evaluation. If you don't do that, probably बोलते ना जमीन अंदर से खत्म हो जाता है. धीरे धीरे जो criminals बनते हैं वो ऐसे ही बनते हैं. Every day you do something wrong and you never feel that you've done wrong. It becomes a part of your life. And then you start thinking that it's okay if I've done something wrong. मैं ऐसा ही रहूंगा, मैं ऐसा ही जीऊंगा. But it does make a difference. मैं ऐसा ही रहूंगा. We are not animals. We are social animals or social being. We have to interact with people. We are in the society. फर्क पड़ता है. कोई बोले फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, फर्क पड़ता है. Next slide, please. Now, what to do to take the responsibility? The responsibility starts with me. First, I should do something. If I do something, I can tell somebody else to do that. There shouldn't be any excuses for that. Every one of us will have to take this responsibility ourselves to introspect, to look in within ourselves what we are doing. There's a beautiful example again of a nature that the sunflower keeps standing, waits for the sun to rise, and the day when it is very, very cloudy, yet it does not change its direction. It still keeps standing, thinking that the sun would rise the next morning. So this is what is required, that if nature has learned that, why can't we learn something from the nature, that we could also stand and wait for the best time to come? Why do we need to get depressed? Why do we need to think that the life has ended here? Maybe that God wants to make us much more stronger than what we are. Next, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope I have finished on time. You had asked me to finish it within 40 minutes. Probably I've completed on time. Hope.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, the viewers. Thank you for listening me patiently.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Those were really inspiring words. We have a lot of comments for you here. One from Vinay Sethi, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
He says that in schools too, moral education has become just a subject. Students read the chapters of moral science book, learn the question answers, and get grades. But are they really morally rich, or who shall take the responsibility? So here's a question for you as well. Would you like to say something on this? Are they really morally rich, and who shall take the responsibility?
Ma'am, it's the responsibility of the entire society, and every individual who is bringing up the children are responsible for that. It's not only one sector of the society. The parent, the society, the teacher, the educators, even a small person who comes on the way should guide the child.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Jyoti ma'am says very inspirational. Uh, Aurora ma'am says extremely inspiring words. Moral values must be taught in school and, of course, at home. Excellent example of Chinese bamboo given. This is said by Preeti ma'am here. And I think positive and very great comments from our viewers. I once again thank you, ma'am, for joining in and being a part of Getty's Disruptive Education Movement. And I thank all our viewers here for being with us and listening to ma'am. Well,
Thank you so much, ma'am.
with this we come to an end to today's session. We'll meet again soon with another very informative session. Until then, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much, Shivani. Thank you
Thank,
very much.
thank you.
You had always been very pleasant talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.